States and union territories. The northeastern state of Tripura recorded the highest voter turnout. The voter turnout is recorded at about a little over 60%, at 60.96%, so about 61% voter turnout. It could slightly go up because these figures are till 7 p.m. though most places voting closes at 6 p.m. Now this is what was recorded in the 88 parliamentary constituencies that went to polls across 13 states and union territories in phase 2 of the general election held today.
Election in India is like a festival of its vibrant democracy. The 2024 general election in the country is the largest democratic exercise in the world. On Friday, polling was held for the second phase of the national elections. In this phase, 88 constituencies of India's lower house of parliament went to polls. These constituencies are spread across 13 states and union territories. Among the Indian states, Kerala has the highest number of constituencies that went to polls during the second phase. All the 20 seats of the South Indian state went to polls on Friday. The other states where the polling was held include Assam, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, West Bengal, Tripura and Manipur. Polling was also held in the Jammu parliamentary seat. As many as 1,210 candidates are in the fray. Among the key candidates was Congress party leader Rahul Gandhi, who contested from Wayanad constituency in Kerala. Actor turned politician Hema Malini contested from Mathura constituency in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. The ruling Bharatiya Janata Party fielded Arun Govil in Meerut. Govil is famously known for portraying Lord Rama in the epic TV series Ramayan. The general elections in India is being held in 7 phases. The first phase of the polls was held on April 19, while the final phase will be held on June 1. The counting of votes will be held on June 4. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
And to talk more about that, to tell us what happened on the ground, how it all played out through the day, I'm joined by my colleagues. Siddharth Bhardwaj joins me from Wayanad in Kerala. My colleague Markland joins us from the east. He's joining us from Darjeeling in West Bengal, and down south is Aisha Khanum. She's joining from Bengaluru. Thank you all three for joining. First to you, Aisha. Give us how it played out in Karnataka, the seats that went to polls today. What was weighing on the people's mind, because it has become a battle of guarantees between both sides?
Well, absolutely, you're right, Amrit. This was a battle of guarantees that we saw on ground in Karnataka, which is the southern state in India. And now this 14 constituencies are very important, and all these 14 seats are in the southern part of Karnataka. And it is here that the caste plays dominance, and this was one of the factors that ruled even this election as well. And also the issues, with regard to the issues, the 5 guarantees by the state government versus the Modi guarantee, which is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's guarantee. And this is a guarantee of empowerment to the people through the welfare schemes. So this was a battle of the guarantees of the central government versus the state government. And the people, when they came out to vote, it was interesting to see that in the morning, first 3-4 hours, there was huge crowd at the polling stations, and people were enthusiastically coming to the polling stations to vote. And in the first 3 hours, there was brisk voting, brisk polling in Karnataka, in Bangalore as such. But later on, it faded, probably due to intense heat, or also probably due to the fact that most of the citizens in Bangalore, especially Bangalore city, which has 3 Lok Sabha seats, Bangalore North, Bangalore South and Central, it is always seen that, you know, the people here escape on the weekends, and this provided perhaps a good ground for them, you know, to move out of the city. And this was very disappointing to the Election Commission as well, despite the fact that they made large arrangements. They made arrangements with the help of technologies to track the polling booth, to reach the polling booth on time, to avoid standing in the queue, to beat the heat. So all these arrangements were in place. But despite that, the voter turnout in Bangalore was quite disappointing. But overall, across the other 14 seats, it was interesting. And the battle in Mysore was quite interesting, wherein the titular king, Yaduvir Vadeyar from BJP is contesting against the Congress candidate, and this is a very prestigious battle.
Right.
This turned out to be a battle between the Karnataka Chief Minister and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because for Karnataka Chief Minister, a lot is at stake in this Mysore region, because this is his constituency, assembly constituency.
Right.
So therefore, if he loses the Congress seat here, it means that the Chief Minister's chair will be in trouble. So this was a very important seat here. Then the Bangalore rural seat was very important, wherein the Deputy Chief Minister's brother DK Suresh Kumar is contesting against cardiologist, a prominent cardiologist, Dr. Manjunath, and he is very famous and popular among the people, and everyone in the constituency spoke about the fact that the ever-smiling doctor should be given a chance. So this time it was very difficult for DK Suresh, who is a sitting MP, who is a lone MP from Karnataka. Remember, in 2019, BJP won 25 out of 28 seats in Karnataka. So at the moment, it was a challenge for the BJP to defend all the 25 seats and for the Congress to improve its tally from 1 to at least a few more digits.
All right. Let me go across to Marklin, my colleague who's standing by in Darjeeling. Mark, how did it play out in Darjeeling? Give us a sense of how people came out. And I want to ask you a broader question as well. If you look at, the figures that the Election Commission has just put out, about 61% of voting till 7 p.m. could go up by a notch higher, a percentage or two higher when final figures come in. But it's, at least 8% drop or 9% drop from the last time around, 2019. But the hills and the northeast in particular seem to be always voting in higher numbers. What reasons do you attribute to that? What did you see play out where you are?
Well, Amrit, actually the hills here have voted in lower numbers than the plains. West Bengal, remember, in the first phase voted quite heavily. They had about 80+% in the first phase. And even here, when we look at the lower parts, let's Raiganj and Balurghat, and even in the Darjeeling in the plains of Siliguri, Chopra, Fasi Deva, all these places have about close to 80% of voter turnout. But the hills, that's Kalimpong, Darjeeling and Kurseong, they have only about 62% voter turnout. So that is a significant difference between the hills and the plains that have brought the voter percentage to about 71 or 72% for the whole of Darjeeling. So we can see that perhaps, the reasons that people generally are giving us is that most people in Darjeeling, at least in the hills, the educated people have moved out to work elsewhere for better job opportunities and have not been able to come back in time to vote this time round. And that may be one of the big reasons why they have not had a pretty high number this time round. But let me tell you that, when I went out in the morning to various polling booths, they were all full and people were voting very enthusiastically and the numbers were very high right at the start. So perhaps, they did exhaust all the people who are out here have voted, and those who are not here have not voted.
That's an interesting point you make. They're saying that heat is preventing people from voting in the plains, where in the hills where the temperature is fine, people have moved to the plains and they're staying inside because of I'm not talking about West Bengal though, I'm generalizing it across the country. Let me go across to Siddharth in Wayanad. Siddharth, you stand at a politically very interesting and important constituency, Rahul Gandhi's constituency, the Congress leader. Talk about Wayanad, what did you see today, how did it play out? And also, there were star candidates in other places, Shashi Tharoor versus Rajiv Chandrasekhar in Thiruvananthapuram. So give us the sense of the political flavor, how it played out, what did people tell you throughout the day?
Well, first of all, Amrit, namaskaram from Wayanad. Here in Kerala's Wayanad, the constituency which is most keenly watched constituency among all the constituencies here, wherein the 20 seats are up for grabs. I'll talk to you about the Wayanad, but first let me begin with the numbers. as per the data which I have till 8:15 p.m., the voting percentage in the state is 70.35, which was 77 earlier, and in Wayanad, where I'm standing right now, is 72.85, which was around 80% last time in 2019. So certainly the numbers have dipped, and the numbers are disappointing certainly here in Wayanad. When you talked about that this is Rahul Gandhi's seat, when we see the numbers this time, it's certainly, I can say that as per my assessment, there is no wave as such as it was last time around. That wave is missing somewhere around. Because people here in Wayanad, and not just in Wayanad, in all over the state, and now in Wayanad, people are saying that they want to see a different face, they want to see a different personality, and when they are casting their ballots, they make sure that they get a solution to their problems. Different constituencies in the state have different problems, and when I talk about Wayanad specifically, Amrit, then people here are very, very much troubled by the human and animal conflict, which is actually troubling their lives. They cannot grow any crop because they say that wild animals come and they destroy their crops. They are scared to send their children to tuition after dusk because they are scared that they might, the children might be, might get attacked by wild animals. So this is something they want a solution for. They say here that ultimately they have told Rahul Gandhi to find a solution, but Rahul Gandhi is repeatedly saying that he has written to the central government, he has written to the state government, government, and a
local issues of Wayanad are playing out.
But how and when, that remains a question. Definitely. When I talk about Thiruvananthapuram, which is the capital of Kerala, the competition is fierce there, and it's a triangular competition in Thiruvananthapuram between the CPI, between the BJP, and between the Congress. And most importantly, you can say the competition is between the two parties, which is the BJP and the Congress. Shashi Tharoor is winning that seat from 2009. And remember, this time around, Rajiv Chandrasekhar has been fielded by the BJP. As per my assessment and as per what people are saying, it is certainly looking like that BJP will open its account, because like I said, in the entire state, people want to see a different personality. They want to get out of that monotonous mindset to go there and just poll, because this time they will poll for the development.
Whether the BJP does that or not,
to get the solutions of their problems.
Whether the BJP does open its account or not, we'll know for certain on the 4th of June when the results come out. But for now, that's all the time I have. I would have loved to talk more to all three of you. Thank you, Mark, Aisha and Siddharth, for joining me from different parts of the country. And still to come on DD India News Hour, China's new tariff law signals retaliation capabilities against trade partners. France and Germany advance joint battle tank project. German Defense Minister praises the milestone agreement. Criminal hush money trial of former US President Donald Trump progresses on Friday.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. There is always a talk of increasing the participation of women in politics. But this is possible only when women get the opportunity to contest elections. This time, the Bharatiya Janata Party has fielded 6 women candidates on 29 seats of Madhya Pradesh. Congress has given ticket to 1 woman worker. Now the Congress is facing criticism in this matter in Madhya Pradesh.
All political parties in the country have their own claims regarding increasing the role of women in the legislature. But how serious the political parties are can be seen from the number of women they give a chance to contest elections. If we talk about Madhya Pradesh, Bharatiya Janata Party has been ahead of Congress in the matter of giving tickets to women on 29 seats in this Lok Sabha elections. While BJP has fielded women candidates on 6 seats, Congress has given ticket to only one candidate from Rewa. On this issue, BJP says that it has ensured that women's participation increases in democracy, whereas Congress says that it has a strong team of women workers, but only those who have a hold among the public can be made candidates.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ये सुनिश्चित किया है कि महिलाओं की भागीदारी को हम बढ़ाएं और हमारी सूची में ये दर्शाया गया है किस प्रकार से हमने 6 प्रत्याशियों को उतारा है। आपने देखा राज्यसभा में भी हमारी एक महिला प्रत्याशी गई हैं, तो ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी का नारी सशक्तिकरण है।
महिलाओं की हमारे पास में एक बहुत मजबूत टीम है, पर प्रत्याशी तो उसी को बनाया जा सकता है जिसकी ज़मीनी पकड़ हो, जो क्षेत्र में लंबे समय से सक्रिय हो, और जो भी प्रत्याशी हमारे हैं वो जिताऊ प्रत्याशी है। उन्हीं के दम पे हमें लगता है कि हम आगामी लोकसभा चुनाव में बहुत अच्छा प्रदर्शन करेंगे।
At the same time, political analysts believe that if women's participation is to be increased in democracy, then political parties will have to insist on 33% reservation formula in ticket distribution.
समझना जरूरी है कि सिर्फ पिछली दलीलें देने से कुछ नहीं होगा। अगर महिलाओं की भागीदारी बढ़ानी है, महिलाओं में जागरूकता लानी है, तो बहुत जरूरी है कि जो ये 33% का आंकड़ा है, इसे थोड़ा रिजिड तरीके से पकड़ा जाए ताकि महिलाओं को पूरा मौका मिल सके।
However, if we look at figures of the last 3 elections, the number of women candidates has definitely increased. While 29 women candidates had contested in 2009 elections, 37 in 2014 and 40 in 2019 were in the fray. If we talk about women from Madhya Pradesh getting elected to the Lok Sabha, then in the 2014 elections, where 4 women candidates had won on 29 Lok Sabha seats, in 2019, 5 women candidates were elected to the Lok Sabha.
Between 47 to 48% of the total voter of Madhya Pradesh are women voters. The voting percentage of women voters has also increased in the last few elections. Hence, it is the responsibilities of all political parties to give maximum opportunities to the women. With camera person Vijay Sharma, Aditya Srivastav, DD India, Bhopal.
All right, let's talk about Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State's visit to China. With the objective to stabilize bilateral ties, top US diplomat Antony Blinken met with China's top leadership during his one-day visit to Beijing. But there seems to be little scope for improvement in the bilateral relations in the near future. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi cautioned his US counterpart against stepping on China's red lines or crossing the red lines, whereas Blinken wants to take action if China does not stop supplying Russia with items used in its assault on Ukraine. Raghav Kumar Jha reports.
China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has warned the United States that the recent improvements in the two countries' relations were being jeopardized by disruptions. He acknowledged that the China-US relationship is beginning to stabilize, but said that it is being tested by negative factors.
Our two sides have increased dialogues and cooperation, adding to the positive side of the relationship. But at the same time, the negative factor in the relationship is still increasing and building, and the relationship is facing all kind of disruption. We urge the United States not to interfere in China's internal affairs, not to hold China's development back, do not interfere with China's sovereignty, safety, development, and not to step on China's red line on China's sovereignty.
Blinken replied that active diplomacy was needed to move forward with the agenda set by President Joe Biden and President Xi Jinping when they met in San Francisco in November last year.
There's no substitute in our judgment for face-to-face diplomacy in order to try to move forward, but also to make sure that we're as clear as possible about the areas where we have differences, at the very least, to avoid misunderstandings, to avoid miscalculations.
Blinken also raised concerns about China's support for Russia's military, one of the many key issues threatening to sour the recent improvement in their bilateral relations. They also discussed Taiwan, the South China Sea, and other flashpoints.
I reiterated our serious concern about the PRC providing components that are powering Russia's brutal war of aggression against Ukraine. China is the top supplier of machine tools, microelectronics, nitrocellulose, which is critical to making munitions and rocket propellants, and other dual-use items that Moscow is using to ramp up its defense industrial base.
After meeting his Chinese counterpart, Antony Blinken met China's Minister of Public Security and then President Xi Jinping in Beijing. Chinese president told top US diplomat Antony Blinken that China and the US should be partners, not rivals. But there are a number of issues to be resolved in their relations.
The two countries should be partners, not rivals. Mutually gain achievements, not hurt each other. Both countries should seek common ground while resolving differences instead of vicious competition.
China on Friday also urged the United States to stop hyping up the false narrative of China's overcapacity and asked to lift sanctions on Chinese companies. This is Blinken's second visit to China in less than a year, but there is little progress on a raft of contentious issues, including US complaints about cheap Chinese imports. Raghav Kumar Jha reporting for DD India.
So they're trying to stabilize it. The idea of the visit was to cool temperatures down, but then of course it's a difficult relationship. So you saw these warnings and threats and red lines being reiterated as the leadership of the two countries met. DD India's Laura Westbrook has more in her report, which she reports from Hong Kong.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said having face-to-face dialogue with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi was vital. The two sides did find areas of cooperation, for example in climate change, and having more cultural exchanges, including more students from both countries, and on the issue of fentanyl and its precursors, with the U.S. keen to stop the flow of fentanyl going into the country from China. But Antony Blinken raised some serious concerns about Chinese components funding Russia's war effort in Ukraine. He said this was an issue that not only affected Ukraine, but also threatened European stability. He also said that Chinese overcapacity was not about limiting China's economy, but really making it a fair and even playing field for American firms and workers. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi said the relationship had improved and stabilized, but he said that China's economic development was being unreasonably suppressed. He also called on the US to stop arming Taiwan. This comes after the US passed a package that would see billions of dollars of aid going to Taiwan. In his meeting with Antony Blinken, Chinese President Xi Jinping also made some comments. He said that he hopes that the US can look at China's development in a positive light. He said this was fundamental in seeing the relationship improve and move forward. Now, we have seen that there have been some key differences, even though both sides have wanted to stress that there are areas of cooperation. And those differences include Taiwan, they include trade, as well as the South China Sea. Experts said, though, that the real purpose of this trip was that both sides could raise issues of concern, for example, in Ukraine, while also acknowledging where they have differences. In Hong Kong, Laura Westbrook, reporting for DD India.
And China has passed a tariff law, leaving its biggest trade partners in no doubt that it can hit back should they put tariffs on exports of the world's #2 economy. The tariff law is the latest addition to Beijing's arsenal of trade defense instruments as it maintains an uneasy truce with the United States following a trade war that kicked off during the erstwhile Trump government. Talking about America now, former U.S. President and 2024 Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump arrived at the New York County Criminal Court for another day of testimony from a former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker on Friday. Pecker is expected to answer more questions about his efforts to suppress damaging information about Donald Trump during the 2016 election, as the former president's criminal hush money trial continues. New York prosecutors have charged Trump with falsifying business records to cover up a hush money payment to an adult star.
We have a report that was just put out by House Judiciary on the District Attorney's Office. This was done by Congress, And so I guess it just came out a little while ago, a few moments ago. I haven't seen it yet, haven't read it, but it should be interesting. I think yesterday went very well in this courthouse. It should be over. The case is over.
France and Germany agreed on Friday to move to a next phase of a project to jointly develop a main battle tank by 2040. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said that there is still a long way to go to realize Germany's joint military tank project with France, but hailed a memorandum of understanding as an important milestone during his visit to Paris. Speaking alongside his French counterpart Sébastien Lecornu, Pistorius said that contracts with the industry are expected to be finalized for the main ground combat system project by the end of the year, after which he is confident that the German parliament would pass the scheme. The MGCS, which is the second major arms industry project between the two countries, alongside with their ambitions to build the next generation fighter jet known as FCAS, is supposed to replace Germany's legacy Leopard 2 and France's Leclerc systems. And still to come up on DD India News Hour, a detailed discussion by legal experts on India's top court's rejection of the petition seeking 100% verification of votes cast using the EVMs and VVPATs. Thailand's Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin meets his Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina in Bangkok. Australia's Defence Minister affirms support for Ukraine as it expands ties with Poland amid European awareness surge.
Versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. On to our big story of the day. India's top court on Friday rejected pleas seeking cross-verification of votes cast using the EVMs or the electronic voting machines and the voter verifiable paper audit trail, which is called as VVPAT in common parlance. The court also rejected a return to the ballot paper system for elections. The court said it had discussed the protocols and technical aspects and therefore rejected the request for 100% verification of EVM votes with VVPAT slips. And electronic voting machines have revolutionized elections in India. They are now being used in almost all elections conducted by the Election Commission of India. The next report gets you the unique story of these EVMs.
Electronic voting has become a hallmark of elections in India. Voting is done through the electronic voting machine or the EVM, which is a device used to electronically record and count votes. The Indian EVM system is also called ECI EVM, meaning an EVM specifically designed, manufactured indigenously and used as per the Election Commission's rule. EVMs were first used in the Parur Assembly constituency in the southern state of Kerala in 1982. They were used in all 543 lower house constituencies during the 2004 general elections. An EVM consists of the ballot unit and control unit. To make the system more transparent, the voter verifiable paper audit trail or VVPAT was introduced. It was used across all the constituencies during the 2019 general elections. So how does an EVM VVPAT work? People cast their vote by pressing the button on the ballot unit next to the name and symbol of the candidate of their choice. A paper slip showing the details of the candidates is generated and is visible for about 7 seconds through the transparent window of VVPAT. The ECI EVM can record a maximum of 2,000 votes. To better understand EVM's efficiency, it is important to look at how they fare in comparison to paper ballots, which were earlier used in general elections. Since voting is done by pressing a button, there is no invalid vote unlike the paper ballot system, in which votes may become invalid due to improper marking. An EVM can record up to 4 votes per minute, giving security forces ample time to respond to any booth capturing attempt. In the paper ballot system, there have been incidents of ballot boxes being stuffed with fraudulent votes. Counting of votes recorded in EVMs usually takes less than a day, while in paper ballot systems, manual counting can last for weeks. The use of EVMs reflects the evolution of the Indian electoral process with changing times and technology.
And to decode the Supreme Court's decision, I'm joined by Ashwini Dubey. He's a legal expert, a trained lawyer who understands these issues. Thank you, Mr. Dubey, for joining us. Okay, so the top court rejected the pleas seeking, cross-verification of votes using the EVMs and the VVPATs, 100% cross-verification. That's one thing the court did today. The court also rejected the return to the ballot paper system. And then the court, put out things like that the candidates can give them the option to get a proportion of the EVMs checked and verified, which will be verified and checked by engineers from the EVM manufacturers. And they laid out, procedures for that, saying the ECI will calculate the cost for it. The candidate will have to put in a request in writing, will have to bear the cost, etc. But the crux is that the court rejected 100% verification and said there is no going back to the ballot system. There is a lot of progress that the country has made, in a way reposing trust in the ECI, and said we cannot undo where the nation has come to. It will just be silly to undo all that. Why did the court reject, in the court's order, decode for us in common usage that the common man understands? Why did the court do that? What reasons did it give for giving the judgment that it gave?
Thank you, Amrit Palji, for having me here. Good evening to you and your viewers. First, as you rightly said, that the Supreme Court says there is no doubt about having the EVM's sanctity, and also Supreme Court says there is a belief, the Supreme Court believe that EVM is working perfectly. The court has noted that the EVM has eliminated invalid votes, which were a major issue with paper ballots and often sparked disputes during the counting process. And the Supreme Court has said EVM is a simple, secure and user-friendly. Further, the Supreme Court has emphasized that it is reducing the paper usage and also alleviating the logistic challenges. And the voters, candidates and the representatives and the financial officials of the ECI are aware of the nitty-gritty of the EVM system. They also check and ensure right places and integrity. The interpretation of the VVPAT system, as recently the package showed, that the system fortifies the principle of vote verifiability, thereby enhancing the overall accountability of the electoral process. And that too, to enhance and to look into the reforms, the Supreme Court also not only they completely rejected, but made 2 important observations on the Palji. One, that on the completion of the symbol loading process in the VVPAT, undertaking on or before 1/5/2024, the symbol loading unit shall be sealed and secured in containers.
Right.
The candidates or their representatives shall sign the seal. The sealed containers containing the SLUs shall be kept in a strong rooms along with the EMs at least for 45 days. Post the declaration of the result. This is a very good observation. And the second, that the burnt memory semi-controller in 5% of the PMR, that is a control unit, ballot unit and per assembly constituency or assembly segment of the parliamentary constituency shall be checked and verified by a team of engineers for the manufacture of the EM. These are the important observations also. So I think in a country like India, which is becoming a pioneer everywhere in the world, where the population is more, the India, world's largest democracy, is effectively using it, and not today. Even in past 40 times attempt were made, 40 times Supreme Court has ruled that EVM is working.
Not just the Supreme Court, various courts, including the high courts, the various.
Yes.
Okay, okay, I mean, these are technicalities that you'll keep it in the, which, common men or lay people like me do not understand, that keep the sealing unit in for 45 days, the loading unit. These are technicalities. One understands there is a machine, you go press the button and you cast your vote and some beeps happen and tell you are done with, go home. But, so are we saying that the court scrutinized it, checked for itself, and then satisfied itself, saying we think the system works fine, but we also, for the assurance of the public at large, put these safeguards so that there can be some kind of check, if not a complete 100% verification, a random check and enough safeguards to see that the system is not misutilized.
Yes, Honorable Supreme Court, even not at the time of Amritpalji, hearing the petition, has formulated the questions and have asked for the answers from the Election Commission of India so far as the technicality is concerned. I am not also a technical person, I am a legal person, a student of law. I think what the law says that I have to discuss from the viewer's point of view with you, the erudite journalist like you. But the question is, the Supreme Court, before delivering this judgment, heard at length not only the petitioner but all the stakeholders and also the agency, that is the Election Commission of India, thereby asking and satisfying the questions and the answer that whether is there any lacuna which may cause hindrance in the smooth conducting the election. But the Supreme Court when found that the ballot paper system was not perfectly efficiently working, but the EVM is working perfectly.
Okay.
And judgment, this is one. And the second, Justice Deepankar Datta judgment is also significant, which I think that must be looked into.
If I read from Justice Deepankar Datta's judgment, it says, in its order, it says it is of immediate relevance to note that in the recent years a trend has been fast developing of certain vested interest groups endeavoring to undermine the achievements and accomplishments of the nation earned through hard work and dedication of its sincere workforce. Why would the court be so miffed to go and say, well, there are vested interests at play?
There is a reason that when you number not one occasion, but again and again you reach to the court saying that the system which is in practice since 1990 and effectively working, which is offering a significant advantages, and then you again question it, again ask for the further with the certain questions, you again reach to the Supreme Court. And that too when country's image is growing, the world is looking into the India. At that point of time, being the constitutional court, the Honorable Supreme Court too owes a duty, allegiance to the people of this country. That is why Honorable Supreme Justice Deepankar Datta, in a separate but concurring judgment, has also noted that there has been a trend in the recent years, fast developing of certain vested interest groups endeavoring to undermine the achievements and accomplishments of the nation, and earn through the hard work and dedication of sincere workforce. That is why the Supreme Court says that there seems to be a concerted effort to discredit, diminish and weaken the progress of this great nation on every possible frontier. And any such effort or rather attempt has to be nipped in the bud. No constitutional court, far less this court, would allow such attempts to succeed as long as it has to say in the matter. That is the important observation, Amritpalji. And I and you too agree, being the citizen, as a citizen of this country, that the Honorable Supreme Court's this observation has a meaning, that why time and again the course of the constitutional authorities are being used, I would say misused and abused by the people with the vested interest to succeed in their ulterior goals.
But Mr. Dubey, let me ask you a counter question to that. When the court admits a certain petition, 40 different occasions, various courts have gone through it and gone through the whole motions and finally said that no, there is no reason for this to be accepted. But the very fact that the Supreme Court, no less than the apex court of the country, admits a petition, it finds reasonable merit to listen to the other party saying we have reasonable doubt again, we still feel, and that is what the system should do. They should allow that play that, well, you ruled this the last time around, but we still feel there is reason to have another look at it. So the courts, when they accepted that, they would have gone through the process accepting that you don't dismiss this out of hand, don't you?
Yeah, why? Because when again and again, reforms is the need of the hour. This is one. Two, that we are developing country. We are growing fast. And so far as that there is possibility of any misuse, and that has to be checked by the Constitutional Court. So whenever any petition is filed with certain reasons, the court has to look into and satisfy its questions and the curiosity as has been asked by the questions which has been raised in the petition by the Supreme Court. And that is why dismissing in limine would definitely arise a question. But when you ask all the stakeholders to put forth their points before the court, saying that why the allegations which has been labelled should not be looked into as a genuine one, and ask the stakeholders like the agency Election Commission of India is ensuring the free, fair, impartial election under the Representation of People Act, and also the Union of India which is looking into being the parental body, and also the stakeholders who are saying that this needs to be looked into because this is the loophole. And that is why the Honorable Supreme Court should ask all the stakeholders, the answering respondents, that you file your reply and satisfy us. And that is what the Honorable Supreme Court heard it, framed the legal questions and decided it, and saying that as of now, it is working perfectly, efficiently, and it is required for the larger interest of this country.
Absolutely. And a very important observation that the court also made was that the sanctity of the process must be maintained by the end of it. Mr. Dubey, many thanks for joining us and giving us a clarity and helping us understand what the Supreme Court ruled today. Thank you. Moving on, Thailand's Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin met with his Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina on Friday in Bangkok, where both countries signed agreements to boost trade, tourism and energy cooperation. Thailand also praised Bangladesh on its humanitarian assistance for the Rohingya refugees displaced from Myanmar since 2017. Hasina is in Bangkok as part of a 6-day official visit to the Southeast Asian nation. Australia's Defence Minister Richard Marles, during a visit to Poland, said on Friday that his country is committed to supporting Ukraine and has also become much more illuminated about what's occurring in Europe. Richard Marles said that the relationship with Poland is put into sharp relief and both countries have started talks on trade.
To supporting Ukraine in its conflict with Russia, but we have also become much more illuminated about what is occurring in Europe, and in that sense the relationship with Poland is put into sharp relief, and we see that there is enormous opportunity for our two countries to work together.
Still to come up on DD India News Hour, the Bank of Japan keeps interest rates at zero, expresses confidence in reaching 2% inflation. Bangladesh's Weather Department issues nationwide heat wave alert. Schools closed, online classes enforced as heat claims lives. Stephen Curry named NBA's Clutch Player of the Year. Curry edged out Chicago Bulls forward DeMar DeRozan for the honor.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. The Bank of Japan on Friday kept interest rates around zero and highlighted a growing conviction that inflation was on track to durably hit 2% in the coming years, signaling its readiness to hike borrowing costs later this year. The central bank also stuck to its guidance made in March to keep buying government bonds around the current pace, dashing hopes by some traders that it could soon taper purchases, partly to slow the yen's decline.
As for our future monetary policy guidance, it will depend on economic and price developments at the time. But we see there are still high uncertainties in Japan's economic and price outlook. If underlying inflation moves in line with our forecasts, we could adjust the degree of monetary easing. But we think easy financial conditions will be maintained for the time being.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz called on emerging economies with high CO2 emissions to contribute more to the international fight against climate change. According to the high-level expert group on climate finance, $2.4 trillion per year will be needed by 2030 for the transformation in developing and emerging economies. Addressing the delegates at St. Petersburg Climate Dialogue in Berlin on Friday, Scholz said that a new approach to financing climate protection worldwide is needed.
According to the independent high-level expert group on climate finance, $2.4 trillion a year will be needed by 2030 for the transformation in the developing and emerging countries. That is a huge sum. And because we are here among ourselves, among friends and like-minded people, I would also like to address the elephant in the room. Public money alone and from a small group of countries will not be enough for investments of this magnitude, and no matter how hard we try.
And let's talk about Bangladesh, where its weather department has issued a countrywide fresh heat wave alert for the next 72 hours from Thursday morning. The heat wave condition has forced officials to close schools and colleges till the 27th of this month. Dhaka University decided to hold online classes. At least 10 people have died so far of suspected heat stroke in the last couple of days in different parts of Bangladesh. An Egyptian delegation met Israeli officials on Friday looking for a way to restart discussions to end the conflict in Gaza and also ensure the return of the remaining Israeli hostages. Speaking on the condition of anonymity, an official revealed that Israel did not present any new initiatives or proposals. However, it was willing to consider the idea of a limited ceasefire with the release of 33 hostages instead of the previously discussed 40. The Egyptian delegation's visit came a day after the US and 17 other nations urged Hamas to release all hostages as a way to end the crisis in Gaza. And time now for some sports news. Indian archers Jyoti Surekha and Vennam and Abhishek Verma have advanced into the compound mixed team final of the Archery World Cup in Shanghai on Friday. The world number 2 pair just lost 5 points to overcome their Mexican opponents Andrea Becerra and Lot Maximo Mendez Ortiz in the semi-final. The Indian duo will take on Estonian pair in the summit clash on Saturday. Jyoti is also a member of the women's compound team which had reached the final. Jyoti has also secured a semi-final spot in the individual section. World number 3 and the Asian Games gold medalist in its contention for a hat-trick to the top podium finishes. Overall, Indian archers have qualified in 4 finals. The 4 events where the Indian teams have made the gold medal round are compounds men's, women's, mixed categories and the men's recurve. Under fire, the Under Fire World Anti-Doping Agency, or the WADA, will launch an independent probe over its handling of a case that allowed 23 Chinese swimmers who tested positive for a banned substance but escaped punishment. The investigation will be led by Swiss prosecutor Eric Cottier. He will have access to all files related to the case and be free to consult independent experts. Cottier is expected to deliver the findings within 2 months. Calls for an independent investigation have grown since the report became public that 23 Chinese swimmers failed the dope test months before Tokyo Olympics in 2021. But WADA accepted China's findings that this was due to substance contamination and no action was taken. China's 30-member swimming team won 6 medals at the Tokyo Games, including 3 golds. Golden State Warriors star Stephen Curry has bagged the NBA Clutch Player of the Year award. Curry is the second recipient of the award, which was introduced last year. The award honors the players who best comes through for his teammates in crunch. Curry edged out Chicago Bulls forward DeMar DeRozan for the honor. Curry received a total of 298 total points. DeRozan finished with 272 points. Oklahoma City Thunder star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander came in third with 160 points. And sports enthusiasts with a sweet tooth have a chance to combine their passions with the Parisian chocolatier La Maison du Chocolat collection Frig, inspired by the Paris Olympics mascots. Renowned chocolatier Nicolas Cloizeau crafted the collection anticipating the games, featuring over 15,000 tablets resembling the Paris 2024 mascots. The wider Paris 2024 licensed collection offers bite-sized treats and boxes totaling 60,000 pieces. And that's all in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code that you see on your screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh, and from my entire team here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.
बहाना नंबर 11 नींद पूरी करने का डे। बहाना नंबर 28 ट्रिप पर जाने का डे। 39 बिंज वॉच ऑल सीजन्स। 65 घर की सफाई का डे। एक वोट ना डालने से क्या होगा? और सबसे बड़ा बहाना, isn't it a holiday today? हॉलिडे? 101 बहाने हैं वोट ना डालने के, पर इस चुनाव के पर्व में एक ही रीजन काफी है वोट डालने का। वो है हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी देश और हमारे फ्यूचर के लिए। तो चलो सब मिलकर मनाते हैं इस चुनाव के पर्व को गर्व के साथ।
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
अब लोन प्रोसेसिंग में इतनी देरी, ये सब ना तुमसे नहीं होगा।
लो तुम ही कर लो।
देखो तुम कुछ मत बोलो लेकिन।
इधर आओ। क्या बात? फाइनेंशियल एसेट्स का प्रमाण देना है, इस वजह से लोन अटका है। देखो अकाउंट एग्रीगेटर से जुड़ो। अकाउंट एग्रीगेटर बैंक इत्यादि के पास उपलब्ध आपकी वित्तीय जानकारी को आपकी स्पष्ट सहमति से ऋण देने वाली वित्तीय संस्थाओं से साझा करता है।
पापा, इट वाज सो इजी।
आरबीआई कहता है
जानकार बनिए,
सतर्क रहिए।
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.